So I just want to start by saying thank you to the ICA. Sometimes it's hard with new music. I know it's complicated putting the stuff online with YouTube and copyright issues and stuff, but that's not an excuse to not promote the music of living people. And so they've found a way to do this. And I think that's so important and it shouldn't go unacknowledged. So thank you to the International Clarinet Association for doing this new music weekend. It's really important. Today, I'm so excited to talk to composer Johanny Navarro, a composer I've worked with a few times now, and who has been writing some really amazing music for the clarinet, which people may be interested in. So, but before we jump into that, I think, I'm going to just totally break the illusion of this being recorded or being live, because we're recording this September 27th. And there's just no way for us to talk about music influenced by Puerto Rico, by a Puerto Rican composer, and not acknowledge, what's happening in Puerto Rico right now. There's just no way for us to do it. So, the hurricane has recently, a few days ago, hit Puerto Rico, and you're in Puerto Rico right now.
Yeah, right now I'm in San Juan, Puerto Rico. The Hurricane Fiona passed on Sunday. So it's been a week and 2 days from that. It was category 1, but, we haven't been able to be back on our feet after Hurricane Maria. And so there's a lot of people without power and without water. Even so myself, I live in San Juan, and I was, I think, 1 week without power, and then like 4 or 5 days without water. But, we have the chance to get it, but I know people are still, living in that conditions, and it's very, very hard. People are getting desperate, and it's hard, to keep to being able to do stuff and normalize, going back to life when you don't have that essentials needs. And it's been crazy, and we are going like open old wounds, and I feel we were back in Maria, it's kind of scary. And you could feel that in the energy of the people when you go out of the street and you talk about with them, they're, the energy and this inspiration. And we're trying to, move forward, but it's very hard right now. So thank you for acknowledging, and I hope, this can, at some point, can be arranged, that can be different.
Right.
It's about politics, and it's about a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. Well, we just can't be quiet about climate change anymore. It's Maria wasn't that long ago, and it's just far too soon for this, to happen again. And yet it was long enough, I've been in Puerto Rico a few times since Maria, and there's still so much evidence of that hurricane that, like, the rebuilding from that hadn't even happened yet. And we're already dealing with yet another, such a destructive hurricane. So it's just, I don't even have the words. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
It's just so sad. And the people of Puerto Rico deserve so much better than this, So anyway, yeah. So let's jump into the music a little bit. And so how we met is through the Victory Players Chamber Orchestra, where, I was the founding clarinetist of this amazing group. And we're based in Holyoke, Massachusetts, which is a historically Puerto Rican town, actually. And so our first project with this chamber orchestra was El Puerto Rico, commissioning music largely by Puerto Ricans or Puerto Rican composers, or, music inspired by Puerto Rico. And you wrote us this amazing piece. And I try really hard not to show favoritism, because I love all of our composers and all of our music, but I think your piece is one of my favorites.
And, I think it was a great experience, but I know that you have a section, have this solo in the piece that I think it makes the whole difference in the context of the piece. I really love that section, so I don't want to show favoritism also, but yeah.
I wish we could listen to the whole thing. People can go and listen to the whole thing. It's all available, so I'll show that link. The first concert is available. GBH in Boston filmed the concert all those videos are available. The album is still being mixed, so that the album's not out yet, but the videos are out. I wish we could listen to the whole thing. I hope people will go check this piece out. But what we have to listen to, since this is the ICA clarinet, you know, is this what can only be called, what I lovingly call the baby making clarinet solo. This like extended section of amazing clarinet writing. So we'll just listen to this. Wish we could listen to more. After this, it kind of goes completely crazy. Actually, there's one of the hardest excerpts in our whole album is in that piece, the super fast. There's like super high, fast tonguing. That was a workout. You know, I remember playing this and thinking, okay, this is somebody I'm going to keep in my mind, that this is somebody who really loves the clarinet and gets it, you know? So I think this is somebody to commission. And we learned so much about, you know, Puerto Rico and genres coming out of Puerto Rico from your music. There's the Plena section, which we learned a lot about in Holyoke as well. So it was just such a great gateway to kind of learn about Puerto Rican culture. And I know that, you know, a lot of your music is influenced by Plena, Bomba, and Danzón, which we'll talk about. So do you want to say anything quick about Plena or Bomba, which, you know, listeners probably don't know too much about?
Yeah, so we're a small island in the Caribbean, and we have a lot of influence about Africans and how the Africans came here with the slavery of Spaniards. And they created this musical genre, which is called bomba. In this case, it's like it's music played by drums. We have another instruments like cuá, it's like two wooden sticks. We have la maracas, and then we have singers. And every time when they are doing the song, there's supposed to be dance, like a kind of accompanying the music. So it's like we have this really interesting combination about music and dance. It's like they coexist together in this sense. And we can do another one with, you know, we can do music without dance or dance without music, but when it's both of them, there's magic, you know, there's like alchemy there, because it's all of our expressions combined in one expression. And then the plena is another musical genre of Puerto Rico. It's like a more younger one in terms of bomba. But with the plena, we have like a different kind of drums. We have called with los panderos. We have almost 3 panderos, and then we have singer also. We have dance. And today, you know, when you hear plena, it will be like a whole band. You know, you have brass, you have like bass, piano, other kind of percussions, like timbales, conga. So it's like a younger genre of music, and you can do it in a very traditional way, like the 3 panderos and the güiro. But then you can have these amazing bands, right? They're doing another kind of stuff and combining, you know, like the old tradition with new styles, and in brass and piano. So, but mostly the thing about plena, it's the lyric, right? It's about what is singing. And for example, right now we're gonna, probably after this, there's gonna be a lot of protests in the streets, right? Because the service and the political stuff, and we were gonna use plena to do it. And people will sing the chorus, and then the people around them will learn the chorus and will join. And it's kind of crazy because it's about music, but it's also about word, and it's about a message. And it's kind of really deep in our culture, just to combine music with another elements, not only dancing, but singing. And in this kind of the plena, it's like it's socially purpose to do something, like to bring the masses together in order to do something.
It's so beautiful. I just love that so much. And it's amazing how adapted these genres have become. When we were learning plena y bomba with Bomba de Aquí and Holyoke, the way Brenda described it to us was plena is kind of like the old way of having a newspaper.
Yeah.
And this is and it can be as light news as like these two people are dating and you see those two, and then it can be something as powerful as really effective protest. And and we saw bomba used in the same way, these images coming out of Louisa, especially after what happened with George Floyd. Bomba as protest music on Puerto Rico, and then throughout in places like Holyoke as well, where there is a large Puerto Rican population. So that's incredible. Now moving on to Danzón. Now this is not a genre that is exactly Puerto Rican, although I understand it's like widely loved in Puerto Rico. So can you tell us a little bit about where this comes from and what inspired you to write Danzón?
The Danzón comes from Cuba, and it's like a more traditional sense of music structure, especially influenced by Spaniard, like villancico, danzas. And in Puerto Rico, we have kind of the same. It's named danza puertorriqueña, and they have this strict structure. You have the paseo, which is the opening, and then you have like two themes or two sections, A and B, and then the C would be the coda. But it's a very, I would say, traditional in the sense of they're trying to imitate, when this genre was born, they tried to imitate this texture and this structure from the European traditions, right? But they have the influence from the Africans, the African rhythms and the syncopation and all of those influences that were combining, in the process of colonization or so. So I think it's interesting how Danzón and also the danza puertorriqueña, they try to imitate this texture, but it sounds different because all of the syncopation and then the rhythmic exploration or exploitation that they use. And you have the amalgama, 3 versus 2, el 2 contra 2. So you have all of these very unique Caribbean rhythmic cells right there in this European very strict structure.
It's very interesting. It just seems to me like, and I was, when Han and I were working on learning this piece for the first time, and I know you came in a lot through Zoom as well to kind of help us understand this genre. What stuck out to me is like all of the, I don't know the word, like, mixing of almost improbable events that created this amazing genre. And I did a little reading at the time. I was pulling up the two kind of a few, there are a few entries for Danzón in Oxford, Dictionary of Music. And what I found interesting there was there's a couple entries that are super like academic sterile, that are like, here's one that says, the Cuban danzón developed in part from the French contradanza, which arrived on the island from Haiti, as a result of the Haitian Revolution, which is this, it's like, it almost seems impossible that this could have happened. There's just so many things that came together. And, Danzón interacted with other Cuban genres and eventually led to the development of mambo and cha-cha-cha and these other genres. So that's a really like, it's helpful, but it doesn't give kind of like some of the other history that you're alluding to. So I found there's another entry, a more recent one, I believe, that goes into a little bit of kind of the rhythm, the cinquillo rhythm, which you hear very clearly throughout your piece for sure, but also the fierce opposition by people in Cuba to this music at the time, which is so interesting. And sometimes this history is, you know, lost. Successor. So there's one part of this. Danzones remained controversial for many years because of the cinquillo pattern, the predominance of Afro-Cuban musicians performing, which should be said, and their incorporation of couple dancing, which was then a new practice in Cuba and considered immoral.
Immoral, yeah.
So that's so interesting. And I know when you were talking to us before as well, the more traditional danzón would be very formal and pristine and nice and just, you know, a nice couple dance and nothing. Now, as things evolved, then you can have more like your piece, which starts that way, so pristine and beautiful. And then by the end, it's just like, it's nasty. So it's just so interesting, the history of this, and, you know, how so many different cultures and I don't know, in the European influence and then the Haitian Revolution coming up. So,
and it's crazy because we have the same genre, but in different contexts, you know, like danzón and danza puertorriqueño and contradanza. They're kind of the same, but, you know, they're different by their own culture. So it's very interesting how they do this expression, which is kind of the same, especially in that time, you know, in danza puertorriqueña, there was like time when they were trying to, I don't know the English word for this, like blanquear, como que the whiteness, you know, to bring the whiteness in the island, and they're performing venues or so. So they created this genre that can be something, you know, white, that can be something different. But then the real influence starting, you know, first with the performance, and then the composer will add this rhythmical, the cinquillo, el tres contra dos, this kind of melodies, the la cadenza, and they will change the color and the tone of the dance, and then make it more black. I don't want to say that, but it will make it more authentic to the nature, to the culture, bringing those influences that were, you know, they were there, they were part of the culture.
So important. And that cinquillo rhythm is the dun 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 ding dun dun dun. Is that the cinquillo rhythm?
Yeah, I mean, it's like kind of like, which is the same with the clave. The clave have 5 pa 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 pa, right? So it's like it's tied. This kind of, it's like a rhythmic sail. Important in all the music in the Caribbean. You know, you could hear the clave for everything, from merengue, salsa, reggaeton, mambo, cha-cha-cha, plena bomba, and you can hear that kind of, it's like the sail that moves the whole piece, the whole song, and everything is tied to it. And you can see like the melodies, they're gonna do like quintillo, you know, like they will do the melody, you know, with the 5 notes, or you have the rhythm, or you have un ponche, un corte, they will do the 5. But it's like la clave is a very essential rhythmic aspect of the Caribbean. And I mean, it's another world that we can dive in, but definitely it's a very important, because it's a rhythmic cell that determines how the song will be played, how the song will be danced also. Because you hear the music, you know, the clave 3-2 is very different from the clave 2-3, and that will change the way you play and the way you dance. So it's very interesting, but that's the idea with the quintillo, you know, how that ties very interesting with the clave, and how that helps to, I would say, to develop, to even to construct, you know, the melody, to construct and develop the rhythmic aspect of the piece, and the delivery. Yeah, everything. That's very important. Clave. Yeah.
That's so interesting. Now you're going to mention something like reggaeton. And I feel like now I'm curious because I don't know much about reggaeton because none of your music has done reggaeton yet. Maybe that's the next thing we should do. But I mean, reggaeton's very popular right now, including on the continental US, right? And like, I'm a big fan of Bad Bunny. I love Bad Bunny.
Nice.
Is that related to this at all?
Yeah, I mean, because well, the born of reggaeton, that's something that is still right now, I think academics and they're trying to figure out where it started, right? But we say that it was invented in Puerto Rico, the term of reggaeton, the term of the dembow per se, boom, bang, boom. It's kind of the same rhythm as reggaeton. So it's there, it's kind of the rhythm. So if you have this same pattern, rhythm pattern, you can try it with the clave also. And it was, it's part of the whole Caribbean aesthetic rhythm aspect.
Yeah, I can hear that now. It seems so obvious now that you sing it like that. That's so interesting.
Every time you see now Baboni or other reggaetoneros, hear that, hear the rhythm. It's like, this is very, it's about music, it's about dance, it's about rhythm, it's about moving your whole body. And that's like kind of the purpose of the music in the Caribbean.
Wow, that's so amazing. Great. So let's listen to a little bit of this. Let's listen to the beginning. And this is kind of that pristine, feeling we were talking about. So that gives you an idea. We don't want to give everything away yet. The album's not out yet. But, you can just imagine this kind of formal dance, it's very slow. It's and you can very clearly in the piano hear the rhythms we're talking about. So beautiful. I was thinking too, the next clip I'm going to show is the cadenza, but the cadenza was not actually in what you wrote originally. And actually this piece, I think, could be approached by a lot of different levels. And, what I love too about working with you is, and you'll hear this again in the cadenza, is you really invite performers into your music. And like when we were working on Belén, your piece for our Perot orchestra, you were really open to all of the kind of different inflections and things that I was doing for the second time that melody came back. So, as performers, we really appreciate that. I wonder, as a composer, does that feel like you're giving up any control or anything?
I try to build a relationship with the performance in terms of I want them to be able to feel free to understand the music and to do something that they feel like it's, it's there. They can feel it, they know it, and they want to do better. And sometimes, even a composer, I have an idea, but sometimes the performers have a better idea to make it work, to make it better, to make it sound like more compelling. And I try to open, my ears and try to understand them and listen to them because they have great ideas. Of course, sometimes that's the case. Sometimes, you get another feedback that is not sincere and it's messy, and you don't want to get feedback in your piece. But sometimes you find people, in this case, like you, Ari, like you understand the music, and you're able to bring your knowledge, your experience in life to my music, and to create that kind of connection with the performer and the piece. For me, it's like the most important stuff. And for me, is to understand that this is no longer my music. It's also the music of the performance, and they're willing to do whatever it takes to make it, to make it work in the performance. So for me, that's vital, and it's very important to create these connections and to understand. And sometimes, you get great feedback and you use it. Sometimes you don't get great feedback, and it's like bad, and some people, bring bad energy to yourself, and that's kind of different. But when it comes from the heart, and you can feel that, the intentions of the comment or the feedback. And I try to do that, and when I find this great connection, it's like I'm gonna listen to you and try to put all your inputs in the piece to make it better, because it's also their piece, because they're performing it, and they have to feel comfortable, and they have to like it. If they like it, it's gonna sound that they like it, and if they love it, people will love it too, because they could see in the face, in the movement of the body of the performance, that they love the piece.
I just love so much that you're open to that. And I think that's what makes your music go from great to just like over the top. Because when you have that kind of connection where the composer and performer believe in each other, it can be really, really magical. I remember when Han and I were working on this, the first time he heard the cadenza, I told him, I think I'm going to do a cadenza here. We were still kind of exploring, because it's such an obvious place to do a cadenza. And so the first time I played it for him, he's like, that is so you. And I remember having to kind of think about that at the time, because I'm like, can I put so much of myself into a piece that's not about me? It's about a whole other culture that I'm not a part of. And yet I can honestly, and maybe this is overshare, but I can actually relate to, when we're reading, the real history of the Danzón, as a gay or queer person, I can relate to people, societal, assumptions about my culture being not pristine, which is not true. But I think, I do give a little of my own extraness in the cadenza, which is fun. So let's listen to that really quick. All right, can't give too much away. That's all. That's all for now.
I love it.
I love it too. I love this piece. I hope this piece I hope more people do it. I hope so. Danzón, Johanny Navarro, people should reach out to you about this. So how can people, if somebody wanted to play this piece, how can they or any of your music, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so they can contact me on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or they can go to my webpage, johannynavarro.com, and they can send a message, and yeah, we can be in touch.
I love it. Anything else you want to plug, or anything else coming up interesting? I want to hear about Y los Pasteles.
So yeah, you were talking before about clarinet and how I wrote, how I write about clarinet. And so I have a premiere of my opera Y los Pasteles here in Puerto Rico on July. And the instrumentation, it's string quintet, which we double in the premiere. And then I have clarinet, bassoon, French horn, and trombone. And for some reason, the clarinet was like the protagonist of the whole opera.
Wow.
Until the clarinet, like, it's like, you wrote a lot for the clarinet, you know, like a lot. And then I was thinking, like, damn, yeah, I love the clarinet so much. Like, I cannot, you know, think about another piece with the clarinet or the sound of the clarinet. Especially the versatility of the instrument, because in the terms of that orchestra, I didn't have flute. So there was a lot of stuff that the clarinet had to double with the strings, you know, in the high register. But then I would give it these like slow, mellow sounds or tunes for accompaniment of everything. And then we have this, maybe I do like an episode for the opera for clarinet, because they have so many solos and fun stuff to play. We have Aguinaldo and Plena, and it was very interesting. But I didn't realize until the clarinet, like after one rehearsal, I said, you wrote a lot. But you wrote in terms of exploiting the ability of the clarinet. It's like not only you're accompanying stuff, you're the protagonist, and you have the leads in some, and you have, like, you know, the very important melodies in different register, and we have like effects, extended techniques, but it's like all over the place. You could hit the clarinet. It's like, this is the protagonist.
Wow.
So yeah.
That's so cool. Wow, you're just a natural writer for the clarinet. I'm excited to see where this goes. This is exciting.
I know. So I've been thinking about it. Like, I'm excited to maybe work another piece, and I would love to work something like a piece for solo clarinet, you know. Something like that.
Amazing.
Very interesting for me, and or maybe, you know, like a concerto.
We should talk.
Yeah.
The ICA should talk. That'd be amazing.
But I really enjoy, because I love the instruments and I love the color, and there's something about it that, like, calls me. I don't know. It happened with a few instruments, but I feel like I don't know, they call me, and I can understand their voice, and I love to write. And the clarinet is one of those instruments.
We hear that. Well, thank you so much for your time, being so generous with your time, and for your amazing music. It's so great to hear from you, and I can't wait for this album to come out. So I should say too, my album's about to come out hopefully this year. It's still being mixed. Antonio Oliart is mixing it. I don't know if I told you that.
Yeah, you told me.
Did I tell you? So multiple Grammy award winning. This is crazy to me, but I don't know how long that's going to take, because it's like going to be on his time. So anyway, so stay tuned for that album, and Danzón will be on that album coming out. And yeah, great. Until next time. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.